So it looks like a lot of people are going to catch this on the replay. So I'm just going to dive in. I put this live on because I posted I posted an Instagram reel. Let me play it for you now. Is that right? So let's get on to this one. And it absolutely blew up. It was entitled 6 Things People Think Are Just How It Is, but are actually red flags for a toxic workplace. You might have seen it. So I put this live on because I was really overwhelmed by the response to that. Over 260,000 people actually viewed that, and I've got thousands of likes and hundreds of comments on it. And I just wondered, why did that resonate so much with people? So I thought I'd put a live on just so that we could discuss it a little bit better. If you don't know who I am, I'm Sharon. I call myself a culture catalyst because I help business leaders build really thriving teams where people want to stay, they want to contribute to the business, and they want to grow. And I've spent 25 years in communications and culture development. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, I've seen the ugly when it comes to workplace culture. So I just want to spend about 15 minutes just sharing the most common kind of toxic workplace traps that I've seen, and the one shift that leaders need to make to avoid them. So I'm hoping that's going to be helpful. So it was really interesting around the 6 things that I chose, and most people either picked out all of them and said they can see something in all of those 6 things. They've experienced it in organizations they're actually now working for, or that potentially have worked for in the past, or they really zoned in on 1 or 2. So I thought it'd be helpful just to walk through what I flagged as those 6 kind of signs while we're on this webinar. So the first was really like constant back-to-back meetings. So for me, when you're constantly busy and you are literally diving from one call to the next call to the next call, that is not necessarily a sign of you being super productive. For me, it's a sign that you are within a culture of kind of panic, chaos, and just not giving yourself the space to lift your head up and be strategic. And the thing that worries me about that within the cultures where this is happening is that for a lot of people, that just leads to burnout. And I speak from personal experience. I burnt out, which is why I've set up my own business about 18 months ago. I'd had enough. I was part of a global healthcare business. And during the pandemic, it was normalized to be on calls from 7:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night. And after a prolonged period of that, I had just had enough. And so for me, that was probably number 1 on my list because I felt that. But yet within a culture, what's going to happen is your people are just going to get to the end of their rope. Your creativity will absolutely tank and go through the floor because nobody has anything left to give, and they just disengage. And so for me, if that is you, or you're worried that that's happening within your business, you need to start introducing some space. Start modeling your own behavior about giving yourself some white space, some thinking space, whatever you want to call it, even 20 minutes a day. Because during the kind of a remote or hybrid working day, how many times do you hear people say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm late for the call. My other call ran over," or "I've got to drop off this call because my next call's starting." That is not healthy, because we're no longer kind of traveling to office environments, or even walking within an office environment from one meeting room back to our desk, or our desk to a meeting room. We've lost all that time, and all that's happened is we've just eaten into it. And so I really encourage you to kind of claim that time back. And honestly, you will see how much better people will feel by just having a bit of time to have a breath. So, if your meetings all feel urgent, they've all got the same level of priority, that is going to destroy your engagement. If there are some unspoken rules in your business that mean I have to turn up even if I don't say anything. Again, something to look out for. And if people are just kind of indifferently smiling, that burnout smile, as I called it, that, and people say, I'm fine, it's okay, I'm fine. That's a massive warning sign, and it's something that you need to address. So the next one was really about, and I've got some notes that I'm going to refer to here. The next point was just about my door is always open. So it's this kind of performative openness that's happening within a lot of organizations that I talk to. So when you think about it, is that person, especially if they're in a senior leadership position, is that door always open? Or is that just a little bit of something that they say to make everybody feel great? Because in most cases, it's the latter. So if you have experienced that, and a lot of people did call that out in my comments, that is a warning sign for you. It just means that actually they're not creating, the leaders in that business are not creating a safe environment for everybody to speak up. Now, a lot of them, what they do is they put the annual survey in, they'll potentially have a town hall, they might do a Q&A on a regular basis, but that ability to listen to anybody who, has the bravery, and we shouldn't really have to be brave, but has the bravery to knock on the door or go into the door and say, hi, I just want to ask you something. Number one, it's probably not possible because they've all got gatekeepers, haven't they? All of our senior leaders have executive assistants or personal assistants that are the gatekeepers to their diary and their door in most cases. But number two, if you've managed to overcome all of that, I think there's probably going to be a little bit of a sense of shock and surprise, because most leaders who say my door's always open, they don't necessarily mean it. And so my advice, if you are a leader, is mean it. Even if it's something that you just protect in your diary, even if you come out of that office or you start to walk the floor on a particular day of the week and spend half an hour just walking around, grabbing a coffee with people, saying that you're going to be in this particular place, that then helps them realize, well, gosh, I have got access to this person. And even though it's not about their door always being open, they are visible. I can see them. I've got somewhere to go and ask my question because I really want to tackle them about this. I'd really encourage you to do that. And where it's not happening in your business, ask about the opportunity. Ask about, what opportunity do we have to chat to such and such a person? And then if they're struggling to give you an answer, then maybe there's an opportunity for you to suggest that that kind of thing could happen. The third kind of a silent saboteur, or kind of a toxic workplace, or of a workplace that makes it toxic, should I say, is when people get recognized only when they go above and beyond. And for me, the real danger is what we're doing with that is just rewarding overwork. And if it happens on a continual basis, again, you are going to drive your people to burnout. How many times when somebody's been given a shout out, do you say, oh, Sharon, she absolutely went above and beyond on this. She took on more work than she needed to. She worked longer hours and absolutely pulled out all the stops. How many times have you heard that? Now, I'm all for recognition and I'm all for stretching people, but it has to be within a manageable kind of time frame. It should be structured in a way that actually contributes to your growth and your development. It shouldn't be about that person that you always rely on and that just drops everything to make it happen. That's not what it is about, because in business, if you've got the time to be strategic, you've got the time to plan, and you've got a healthy culture that enables all of that, then the last minute dash, kick, bollock, scramble to make things happen and push things over the line should be few and far between. It shouldn't be the norm. So if that is happening in your business, again, I'm waving a big red flag for you on that. The fourth sign was that there's just no clarity. I think when you go to a meeting and you've got no idea why you're there, there's no agenda, nobody's outlined what the purpose of the meeting is, well, then what is the point of you spending your time there? And also, potentially, if you're on a project and it's one of these kind of agile sprints, sometimes that's a really good methodology to use to move fast and work at pace. A lot of the time, it just masks the chaos. Okay. And if that's a continual cycle and it's consistent, it just means that there isn't the clarity that you need within your business to move forward in a structured and measured way that is going to make a difference. It's just lurching from one kind of chaotic project to the next. And again, it's a really big red flag for me. The fifth one, and this is one that I've come across a lot, and a lot of people in the comments said this. Leaders who avoid conflict or workmates who avoid that conflict and just tip over into passive aggression. So the really important thing when you manage people or you're a leader or even just in your kind of peer-to-peer relationships, you have to stop being nice and start being kind, because nice is just a way of letting either bad behaviors, poor performance, or just things that are out of alignment with your business continue to happen. Being kind is where you talk about those things, you understand, you clarify, and you get underneath the skin of what is happening. Because most of the time, if you lean into people, that tension, you will resolve it. But I think as human beings, we're hardwired to kind of avoid that. We want to go the path of least resistance. So we'll avoid that conflict at all costs. And most of the time, it will come back to bite you. So again, big red flag on terms of that. The last one is that we just have this mentality of we're tough, push her through, we're resilient. And sometimes that comes at the cost of people's well-being. And so I would really encourage you, if you feel that you're on a constant hamster wheel and that you're being encouraged to go, yeah, take on more work longer hours, pull an all-nighter. If that is something that's happening on a regular basis in your business, then absolutely I would question that and wave a big red flag. So for me, I wanted to call these things out because sometimes those things are just never named. These subtle things that go on within our businesses and with the organizations and employees that we work for add up. Okay. They don't just kind of frustrate people. And a huge amount of frustration came through on the comments that I had on that particular post. They actually quietly destroy trust, and sometimes they destroy people's well-being, both mental and physical. So, you're going to lose your best people if this is stuff that you're allowed to continue. Your team is likely to withdraw, or you might have even withdrawn yourself. They're just quietly quitting, turning up for the paycheck at the end of the month. In fact, somebody put that as a recent comment. Any job is just about getting the paycheck. If you think about it any more than that, then you're fooling yourself. Now, what an awful place to be. We spend too much time at work to put up with that. If this is continuing, then you're not going to be allowed to be innovative. It will go and die in the workplace that you turn up to or that you engage with every day. Innovation will just quietly seep out and it will never come back. And I think the big one for me, because I've experienced it, is burnout will be hidden underneath that. Everything's fine. Let's just put on that mask. And I honestly think within a lot of these businesses, it's not that the employers or managers or leaders within these businesses don't care. And people, they just potentially learned, and their teams have learned, that caring comes at a cost. So it comes at a cost of having the bravery to speak up. It comes at a cost of potentially risking your reputation or your job itself. So that people are frightened to kind of speak out about this. So I'd be really interested to know in the feedback with if you commented on that reel, or you engaged with that reel, or it really kind of cut through for you. Is that because you're part of a business that is kind of a lot of tension belongs in there? You feel like you're just surviving. What is it? Excuse me. What is it that made that particular post kind of be real for you? I'd really love to know. And if you feedback on this stream, then that would be helpful to me because I'm fascinated by it. It's what I kind of want to avoid at all costs. I want people to work for a companies that help them thrive and be better people, to show up and be present and want to contribute, because that's when we're in our best space. That's when we're our best self. So, in the last few minutes, I just wanted to talk about, if that's the red flags, what are the green flags? So, there are three kind of green flags that I thought would be worth mentioning that I see in high trust, thriving cultures. And the first one sounds really simple, but it is listening is regular. It's not reactive. It isn't just about when someone comes with a problem. How many times have you heard, don't come with problems, come with solutions? That's not listening. But those cultures where they have a lot of really healthy, thriving uh, cultures, they have a whole listening ecosystem, and it just runs. It's all the time. They're tuned into what people are seeing, hearing, feeling, and people feel safe to say something. It isn't just about when something goes wrong. Actually, when things do go wrong in a healthy culture, that's a good thing, because from mistakes we learn. And I think in a healthy culture, people feel that they're empowered and enabled to make mistakes. That's fine, that's safe, because it gets us closer to the right solution. So, listening is a really important signal of a healthy culture. And what I mean by listening isn't just you've got the forums to kind of speak your mind. It is that you have a place and an environment and somewhere that actually makes you feel heard. Now, the difference from kind of speaking up and being heard is that actually when you're heard, you have the confidence that what you're saying will get acted upon. So it's not just going, okay, that's great feedback, thanks for sharing your feedback. It's actually something happens because you've said that. We're now going to do something about that. Here's what we've done, and does that now solve the problem? There is a loop with kind of feedback that you need to close. So listen isn't just about capturing that feedback. If you want people to feel heard, you need to do something about it. Okay. The second big green flag is that leaders really show up. All right. They are visible, they are in and amongst it, they are consistently there in person, or at least joining in with your team interactions on a regular basis. And that's important because it allows you to see how they behave. And in a really thriving culture, they will be modeling the behaviors of the culture they want to see. So if they're highly innovative, if they're listening all the time, if they are willing to admit their own mistakes and their own learning points, that is hugely powerful as a leader. And I don't just mean kind of placating people, coming along, dropping in. I mean actually, rolling the sleeves up and getting involved. It is, for me as a leader, this kind of stuff is 80% of your job. Yes, you will have to make decisions, you'll have to look at budgets, you'll have to kind of manage your own team. But 80% of your role is making and creating the culture that you want within your business if you're at the top of the tree. So leaders visibly showing up all the time and being the person that you can talk to, ask questions to, that are going to come back and do something about what they've heard. That is somebody who's really showing up and is really present, and that's a green flag. The third green flag is that when things are going on in the business, those unwritten rules, those unspoken moments, a little bit of tension that you just pick up on, awkwardness, they get named and they get unpicked, they get explored, and they get dealt with. So in big healthy cultures, well, not big, but in healthy cultures, in big organizations, small organizations, medium-sized organizations, they are naming their issues and they are dealing with them. People feel comfortable and psychologically safe to not call it out, call people out, call behaviors out, call problems out, call mistakes out. That is what a healthy culture looks like. So unspoken rules that get named is a massive green flag. So these are the things that I help leaders work on inside the work I do. And I've put them all together in a blueprint, a little mini course that I'm making available to everybody. If you are interested, I'll put a link in the description. It is a really practical framework for rebuilding trust from the inside out. And I think a lot of people, based on the reaction to that simple reel that I put together last week, a lot of businesses and a lot of people would benefit from hearing about that. I'm not about week-long cultural audits that take months and loads of analysts working it through to give you insight and to get a score at the end of it. I'm about ask 5 questions because that's all you need to know. And actually, we're not looking for a score. We're looking for some patterns. I'm looking for things that I can embed after this webinar, after my next meeting, tomorrow. I want to take action now. That's what the Culture Shift Blueprint does. And so, if you are interested, it's a 5-step process. It takes you through diagnosing the cultural blockers, the red flags within your business. It takes you through making sure you've got a culture that's aligned to what your business is striving for and your business goals. It also looks at overcoming resistance because there will be pushback. People don't like doing things differently. They don't like the kind of discomfort of like calling out things that are, awkward or uncomfortable to talk about. But you have to face into it. And there are ways that you can surface that resistance and get buy-in and get people on the bus and behind you and bought into what it is that you're trying to do. And they also on the 4th step, it actually helps you list the things that you want to embed on a daily basis, because culture is this thing that happens between what you say and what you do. Those things have to align and they have to match. And it isn't just a one-off, it isn't just a transformation program. It has to be on the daily. So my program helps you identify those daily actions that you need to take to tackle those blockers, just to kind of make sure you're aligned, to surface and overcome that resistance, and to have something that sticks. And then lastly, it puts all that together in a bit of an action plan for you. So if that is something of interest, I'd really love to share it with you. So I will put the link to register for that in the description. I hope that's been useful to you. I've got loads of kind of Q&A that I could do on this, but for now I'll wrap it up and I'll just say thanks so much. Hang in there. If this is you and you're just feeling a little bit lost, you need to just even potentially speak to somebody, set those micro boundaries. You alone won't be able to fix the culture in your company. But by being aware of it and perhaps implementing some of the tools that I've shared, or that you might learn within the Culture Shift Blueprint, it will mean that you'll feel better about things, or at least give you this headspace to think about what your next move might be. So thank you so much for joining or watching this replay. Just remember that culture isn't what you say it is. It's what you allow, it's what you encourage, and it's what you reward. But the good news is, although we have kind of those 6 red flags that we're screaming out to people, there's a whole load of green flags as well. And you can shift from one to the other. Follow me on Instagram if you can. It's at Sharon_ThriveComms, or like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, or do both. But happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And yeah, hope to see you soon.